Welcome to Modern Psychedelics, where we explore the transformations made possible through intentional engagement with psychedelics. This podcast will help you integrate high consciousness living into the everyday and deepen the work ignited by altered states. You can expect balanced and grounded conversations around therapeutic, ceremonial, and recreational containers. My name is Lana Pribic, your host and guide. I am a 3-time certified professional life coach, and I work with people who want to integrate higher levels of consciousness into their daily lives so they can feel more peace, fulfillment, and connection. After all, our time here on Earth is so brief, so let's make sure we're really living. The song you hear is called Lost Horizon by Peace Sign. All right, let's journey. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So today's episode is a spin-off from episode 110, Harsh Truths About Psychedelics That No One's Talking About. And in that episode, one of the harsh truths that I talked about briefly, which we're going to be diving into more today, is that idea that things can often get worse before they get better. And I want to really talk about this, explore it, look at the nuances around it, and hopefully offer support for anyone who's listening that feels like giving up a little bit, maybe, that feels like it's not working. And hopefully this will just encourage you to keep going no matter where you are at. If you have been feeling low on energy, sluggish, or just out of balance, I have something to share with you. It's a natural solution that's been used for centuries, Shilajit. You may have seen this black tar-like supplement all over the internet these days, and that's for good reason. I personally started using natural Shilajit this summer, and let me tell you, the energy boost is quite impressive. And that's because Shilajit resin is a naturally occurring substance that is found high in the Altai Mountains, and it's formed over centuries by a gradual decomposition of certain plants and by the action of microorganisms. This stuff truly comes directly from nature. Shilajit is an incredible Ayurvedic supplement. It's packed with over 80 minerals and fulvic acid, which helps to detoxify the body, support hormonal balance, and enhance nutrient absorption, amongst a plethora of other benefits. Not only have I noticed an increase in my energy levels, but even my menstrual symptoms have become almost non-existent. I noticed that when I take the Shilajit more consistently, my body does not get the cramps and the PMS symptoms that I usually do. So my go-to way of using Shilajit is I mix the natural Shilajit Nutri honey in my decaf coffee every morning. And I like that the honey just adds a little bit of sweetness. I personally love natural Shilajit because they are known for their premium quality Shilajit, which is rigorously tested, contaminant-free resin sourced from the pristine Altai Mountains. If you want to naturally increase your intake of vitamins and minerals and really feel these benefits, head over to naturalshilajit.com and use the code LANA10OFF to get 10% off your first order. That's Natural Shilajit, SHILAJIT.com, and Lana, LANA, 10 off to get 10% off your first order. I've linked that all for you in the show notes. Thank you so much to Natural Shilajit for sponsoring today's show. Let's get back to the episode. So like most episodes, this episode is really meant to validate this experience for people. What if I told you that it's perfectly normal for things to get worse before they get better, and that it's completely normal and natural, and that it's a natural part of the healing process, of the process of changing who you are from the inside out and the process of transformation. So today we're going to be diving deep into why psychedelics can stir up these challenging emotions for us to deal with, how that's simply a part of the process that we need to go through, and what that means for your journey. So we're really going to be focusing on the often overlooked reality that psychedelics can bring up very painful emotions, very painful memories. They can illuminate our darkest shadows, and we can feel a lot of challenge and resistance to that process. And before we reap the benefits, we really have to walk through that forest. We have to go through that forest, that darkness, in order to reap the benefits. So in other words, things can start to feel worse before they get better. And a crucial aspect of this journey actually involves shifting our perspective on psychedelics. You guys will have heard me talk a lot about these nuances in other episodes. For example, psychedelics are not meant to be pills that we take to mask our problems and mask our symptoms, right? They're not these band-aid solutions. They're actually quite an involved process. Rather than being a band-aid solution, like I said, they amplify, they illuminate, they really kind of lovingly force us to look at and engage with our inhibitions and the pain that's really keeping us stuck in the pain. Whether we know that pain is keeping us stuck or not, we can sense it in some way, which is why people feel called to this work. Psychedelics can be a permanent, lasting solution to a happier, more meaningful, more fulfilling life. However, we need to really engage in the process in order for it to work. We need to be active participants in our healing journey. And I just want to preface this conversation with a caveat that, of course, there are these very rare instances where people will do 1 or 2 or 3 sessions and, you know, it really takes them far on their healing journey and maybe they even feel like their work is done. And there's a lot there to explore as well. But yeah, this is just meant to be an episode to support those people who are feeling like giving up and feeling like maybe it's not going to get better and maybe it's not working. So this episode is really meant for that. And I do want to just validate that people definitely have experiences where, yeah, maybe they only need 1 session or 2. This platform, Modern Psychedelics, being the 5 planets in Capricorn and the Taurus moon that I am, I had a session with my supervisor who is a psychologist who really brought this to my attention that I have so much goat, Capricorn, and bull in my chart, and I don't follow astrology religiously at all. I think it can be very validating, but these signs tend to move slowly. So just keep in mind that this is the orientation and the paradigm that I'm coming from. If anyone out there is listening and it's just going well and things are flowing and it's not slow, it's actually fast, like all the power to you. Bless you, bless your journey. It's all valid. Now, there's a lot of nuance to this that I want us to be aware of. If you're consistently feeling worse instead of better without seeing how the discomfort is a part of your growth, like if you're having a hard time finding meaning in the discomfort and finding a way to really face and be with the discomfort, I think it's time to consider taking a break, even if it's just to get a little bit of space to maybe hold the discomfort more closely. Again, healing's not linear. So it's common to feel stuck in different phases. But if this feeling lingers without any signs of progress, and if things are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, it might be beneficial to take a step back and also probably get some additional support from probably a therapist. There's no shame in this. No person's journey looks like another person's. So if this is you, please just take care of yourself. Remember that psychedelics are powerful tools, and taking a break can actually be really beneficial to helping you stabilize yourself for the rest of the journey ahead. But regardless of how your journey is unfolding and at what pace, it's very clear that psychedelics aren't an escape, aren't a band-aid. They are actually an invitation to confront the very things that we have been avoiding. It is us doing the work. So I want to share a personal experience here. About, a year or so into my more intentional ceremonial healing journey with psychedelics, I felt overwhelmingly like I was drowning. I felt overwhelmingly like it wasn't working. I felt overwhelmingly that I wasn't making progress and that, things were just getting illuminated. And then I would look at one thing in a ceremony and then it would come up again. And then I would feel like a failure because I was like, well, I already addressed this. What more is there to address? And I remember just feeling really defeated and really questioning if this was the path for me. But regardless, I decided to continue on with my journey with plant medicine. And I'm so happy that I did, because it has brought me to a life and a state of being that is so peaceful and just greater than anything I could have imagined. But yeah, I remember that part of the journey where it just felt like walking through mud. And I wish that I had support during that time. I wish I had someone there to tell me like, it's okay because this is part of the process. Things are actually maybe going to get messier and harder before they get better. So this is me hopefully being that person to you. So we can see here that the process may seem like it's not working, but in reality, it's just a natural and necessary stage of the healing journey. So let's really explore why that is. Are you ready? Let's do it. I want to begin this conversation with a framework to really ground us in. And that framework is one that many of you are likely familiar with. It's Joseph Campbell's framework of the hero's journey. Things getting worse before they get better. It's definitely not a novel concept or even something unusual. There are many frameworks that illustrate this progression during the process of transformation. For example, we can also look at the cycles of change. That's a framework that I use in my coaching practice to really validate for people where they're at. You can also look at acceptance. What is it? ACT, acceptance and compassion therapy, where we accept where we are in order to move forward. So this idea, it's not new, but yet I feel like sometimes we forget it and we need to really just remind ourselves that this is very natural. So the hero's journey is a narrative framework. It was popularized by Joseph Campbell, and it outlines a common pattern in many myths and stories where the hero, right, the protagonist of the story, faces trials and tribulations before achieving transformation, before achieving that light at the end of the tunnel. And so, my friends, you are the protagonist, you are the hero of your own story, and you are writing your story every single day. So the hero's journey, where you are the hero, it typically consists of several key stages. I'm going to briefly go over them with you guys today. I'm not an expert in this, but I want to just bring it in here to give us a framework to refer to. So the first stage is that call to adventure, where the hero is invited to take this journey that will change their life. There is this recognition that something's just not right. There's this recognition, this knowing, this deep knowing, whether it's intuitively or in your heart, that something is off. There's something more there, whether it's like directly a journey of healing where you're like, oh, I know that I need to look at this thing in order to come through on the other side, or whether it's just this feeling of, I know there's something more for me. I've done all the things. I've made the money. I have the partner. I have the life that I want. And I know that there's something more for me. So that's really that first stage. If we want to relate this to the psychedelic journey, maybe we haven't even learned about psychedelics yet. Maybe we just have that calling and that knowing that we're about to embark on a journey. Stage number 2 is refusal of the call, right? Where initially the hero hesitates or refuses the call due to fear, due to uncertainty. And again, completely natural, completely normal. We all have a fear of the unknown, no matter how skilled we are at navigating transitions and transformations in life. The unknown is just naturally uncomfortable for all humans at different calibers and at different extremes, but it's natural to refuse the call. It's natural to start allowing that fear and those reasons why you shouldn't answer the call to come in. And I know that I can definitely relate to this because I have recently uncovered that there is a relationship from my past that I need to process with a therapist. And I feel very clear that this is something that's going to be a therapeutic work for me. It's something that I feel very strongly that I need to process over a period of time in person with someone rather than to take it to medicine. And I can really strongly sense the refusal of the call. And for me right now, that sounds like, oh my gosh, I just don't have the space for it. Like, I'm so busy. How am I going to open up a whole entire therapeutic process? I'm afraid of what I might find out about myself. I'm afraid to really face the ways in which that relationship impacted me and continues to impact me. And so while this is uncomfortable, it's just a part of that hero's journey, of that process of transformation. But really this refusal of the call is that this, like, the idea of going on the journey, it just sounds daunting and impossible. So we start second guessing ourselves, which leads us into the third stage, which is meeting the mentor. In this stage, the hero encounters a mentor, a person, a guide who provides guidance and encouragement, and maybe even mirrors back to the hero what is possible on the other side. So this could be coming into a new community in your town or city. It could be meeting a psychedelic guide. It could be meeting someone like myself, or tuning into someone like myself who has gone through a very thorough process of healing and transformation with psychedelics. It could be a more formal mentor. It could be a coach. It could be a friend. Anyone who really mirrors back to you that this process is possible. So stage 4 is crossing the threshold. So this is when the hero commits to the journey and enters the unknown. This is where we really commit to doing the work. We start that journey inward. Maybe that is marked by your first psychedelic experience. Maybe that is marked by some preparation work. Maybe that is marked by hiring a therapist or hiring a life coach to help you on your journey. But this is really where we stop allowing the fears and the fear of the uncertainty and the fear of the unknown to stop being in the driver's seat, and we get into the driver's seat and we say, we are going, let's go, all aboard, let's take this journey. And it's a deep journey inward. And so there's trials and challenges. That's the next stage, right? The hero faces challenges that really lead to personal growth, but also struggle and suffering. And this is the core of it. This is that messy process where it can start to feel like things are getting worse before they get better. And this can look so many different ways. It can look like feeling a shift in your identity and your values, and therefore navigating friendships and family dynamics and family relationships, and can be starting to question who you are. And it can be starting to question your life decisions and maybe your career and your profession, and understanding what has been motivating you up until now, and really taking a really good hard look at yourself. And when things start to come to the surface, that's when the work starts to become clear, right? Through these trials and tribulations and these challenges, we are triggered. We have to face ourselves. But there's so much juice in that, because the things that we are triggered by, the things that we find challenging, that's the work, right? And so there's messages there for us. There's like little breadcrumbs there for us about what needs to be addressed. The next stage of the hero's journey is the ordeal. This is a critical moment of confrontation where the hero faces their greatest fears or challenges. This can be a psychedelic experience itself. I think for me, this was probably facing Iboga and facing 5-MeO, because those were two medicines that I was incredibly terrified of. And yet I knew that there was something there for me. And oh boy, was there ever. But this is a moment where we really have been on the journey for a little bit of time at this point, and maybe we have increased our confidence. Maybe we have been expanded. Something has happened to allow us to face our fears and allow us to work through our feels. Like I said, it can be the psychedelic experience itself, which can feel more like a struggle than healing. It can be opening up a therapeutic process. Like I feel like I'm at the ordeal again with realizing that I have to open up this therapeutic process in order to remove some of the stuckness that I am currently facing in my life. So this can look so many different ways, but the phase after that is the transformation. After overcoming the ordeal, after facing the challenges, the hero undergoes a transformation and gains new insights or, powers or just secrets of their life. So this is really where the process of integration comes in. This is where we start to integrate the journey that we have been on up until now, and we start to identify with our new identity and maybe identify with some new truths. And this is where we really start integrating and bringing that into our life. And then the last stage is the return. The hero returns home with newfound vision, new perspectives, and they're ready to share it with others. This is the process of coming back to yourself, integrated and whole. And you may look around you and say, wow, actually not much has changed in my life. Like I still have the same job. I'm still with the same partner. I still tend to spend my time in the same way. So nothing's really changed, but it feels like everything has changed. And that's because you have changed. The hero has changed. And from there, the hero actually has so much wisdom and insight to share with the people around him. And this can be when you start sharing your story, or you pivot careers so that you can align your life's work with, what you've learned along your journey. It can look many different ways, but that's really the last stage. And so we can see how engaging in psychedelic work is really similar to taking the hero's journey. A journeyer often encounters significant challenges, emotional turmoil as they dive into their healing, and the trials and tribulations that are encountered during psychedelic sessions really mirror the hero's ordeal, where individuals may feel like they are struggling more than they are healing. And one thing that I want to know about the hero's journey is just the bravery that it takes to embark on this journey. And knowing this, we can see that facing discomfort is actually a sign of progress, and it just leads to the next step, because there was once a point where you were not open to facing the discomfort and now you are. And so that's a sign of progress. So you can liken the psychedelic experience to the hero's journey, where the initial discomfort and the challenges are a part of the transformation process. So keep this in mind as we talk about this phenomenon of things getting worse before they get better, just emphasizing that the hero, which is you, must confront their inner demons, their shadows, their inner challenges before emerging stronger. And yeah, another framework that people can actually look to is like the process of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, right? I don't know, I'm not a caterpillar or a butterfly. I've never been in a cocoon or the chrysalis, but they say it's very uncomfortable. So we can see that this really is in nature. It's everywhere. There's a reason why stories throughout time have told the story of the hero's journey. It's just in our human nature. It's part of what it means to be human. Did you know that your problems don't come from the situations or circumstances themselves? Your problems are likely coming from how you approach them. More specifically, your problems might be coming from the level of consciousness that you approach them with. It's pretty simple. Here's how it works. Anytime something happens to you, you can approach the situation from various levels of consciousness. You can come from a low level of consciousness that perpetuates the problem and keeps you stuck, drained, hopeless, and under stress. Or you can come from a high level of consciousness that helps you move forward, because you can more easily tap into creative solutions and access your intuition. The good news is that at any given time, you can choose how you show up, and therefore have a massive impact on how your life unfolds. The trick is to be aware of all of the options available to you, which most of us aren't. We're stuck in our default modes, which is why most of us feel stuck and unable to move forward. But that job that you hate, your codependent relationship, or the numbing anxiety of not knowing your purpose in life can be the exact thing that moves you forward and gives you clarity, as long as you're approaching it from a high level of consciousness. In my coaching program, I'll help you become hyper aware of your current approach and help you shift to higher levels of consciousness. By addressing those unconscious energy blockages keeping you stuck, we unlock flow, acceptance, peace, and joy in life. And this isn't woo-woo. I use a research-validated coaching method that's benefited thousands worldwide. So whether you're corporate or spiritual or both, this approach offers practical integration into daily life. And it happens to pair brilliantly with psychedelics. High consciousness living is achievable every day, not just during psychedelic experiences. Psychedelics illuminate the path, but it's our job to walk it every day. My coaching program will provide you with a grounded and operational way to integrate high consciousness into your daily life. I am currently onboarding new clients into my practice, so if you'd like to learn more about the program, visit modernpsychedelics.net/coaching. And if you're ready to do this work, go ahead and apply now and book a discovery call with me at modernpsychedelics.net/apply. I'll have both of those links in the show notes for you. All right, let's get back to the episode. So let's talk about the unavoidable messiness of healing. As someone who is uncovering her own discomfort with messiness, like I'm realizing how I don't want things to be messy. I want things to be very clean and clear and just tied up in a pretty little ribbon. There's a part of me that really wants that. And I say that because I want people listening to know that I can relate to that. And there's many people out there who can relate to like wanting to avoid something because it's messy, because it's unpredictable. And the psychedelic journey is that. And the healing journey is that. It's not a linear process. It's not a predictable process. You can't project plan your healing. It truly is uncomfortable and messy. And it often requires sitting with things that we haven't taken the time to sit with before. And we're finally doing that. And it's flexing a new muscle. And so when things feel messy and uncomfortable, that's when we start to feel like it's not working. Like, why does my life feel harder and messier and more uncomfortable than it did before I started this journey? One thing to really address here, and this is why the process of preparation for a psychedelic experience is so important, is that a lot of us go into this work with the expectation of immediate relief. And instead, we have to work through these deep layers of discomfort. And of course, we're going to feel worse before we feel better and think that it's not effective if we're coming at it from the perspective that this is just going to solve all of my problems overnight. I went into my first ayahuasca ceremony. It was a 2-nighter and we had 2 ceremonies and I was just like, okay, like I'm ready. I'm ready for everything to be absolutely different. I really did think that like, okay, just like 2 sits with ayahuasca and that's it. That's a whole other conversation around like why that is, but it's perfectly normal that many people start this work wanting to feel better and then want to give up when it seems to be bringing more pain and be doing the exact seemingly opposite thing that they want it to be, right? This is what I often hear. It's not working. It's not working. So in this case, it's just important to remember again, why this is happening. These things are being brought to the surface. They're being brought to the light so that you can actually look at them. You can't heal what you don't first hold. You have to feel it to heal it. All of those things that facilitators love to say are absolutely true. So think of each thing that comes up as a baby, as a part of you, and take that baby and nurture it and hold it. And, you know, maybe it's a crying baby and you're holding it and nurturing it and soothing it and telling it that it's okay until it stops crying. And then you can kind of integrate that baby, that piece of you back into who you are becoming, which is a whole and integrated human being. Another thing to consider is the nature of emotions. Emotional health is something that I feel like I'm an expert in simply because for so long I was emotionally unhealthy. And by that, I mean that my emotions ran the show. It was like if I had an emotion and a feeling about something that made it true. And if I had an emotion, I had to act on it, right? It was like my emotions were my ruler, right? They were like the thing that I just had to honor in every moment. And with age and maturity and this work, of course, I've learned that emotions don't necessarily have to be acted upon. Emotions, I like to actually think of as messengers. You may have heard before that emotions are energy in motion. Where do emotions come from? We have beliefs that turn into thoughts, and those thoughts create an energetic charge that creates a feeling in the body, which we register as an emotion. So when we actually avoid our emotions and shut them down, we're essentially not allowing ourselves to feel it. We're not honoring them. And so what happens to that energy when we're like, nope, you can't be here. You're not allowed to be expressed, right? Say that you are feeling a great deal of sadness about something and you have whatever judgments around feeling sadness. Maybe you're a man and you grew up in a society that said men don't cry. And so you shove that sadness down. Well, since that sadness is energy and energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transferred, right? That's a universal law. That energy has to go somewhere. And since it's not being expressed through an expression of sadness, such as crying, right? Such as grieving, such as really feeling the sadness and letting it out, it goes somewhere. And where it goes is, you know, there's a lot of theories around emotions staying stuck in the body. But, you know, I think it's safe to say that if we don't feel our emotions, they get stuck in us. they get stuck with us. And so they're kind of there under the surface. And we think that we're doing this thing where, well, if we don't feel it, then it doesn't have to impact me. But actually, we're doing quite the opposite, where if we don't feel our emotions and we don't express them, then they do rule us, but in a way that is much more subconscious and that we are not so aware of. So to really heal and to really take this hero's journey all the way through, it is imperative to feel our emotions. It's imperative to feel it, to heal it. But when, the buried sadness comes up, the grief comes up, the resentment, the anger, the guilt, the shame, all of these emotions that are stuck in the body start to surface because the psychedelics they take down the barriers between us and our inner selves. And so we're like, oh my gosh, there's all this sadness. Wow, I had no idea that this was in me. And so to really release that, it means feeling them. And so this is where it can start to feel like things are getting worse, because at least before you were suppressing the emotions and you didn't have to feel them and you were kind of just like at like a baseline level of operating that was pretty numb to the world, right? At least then you didn't have to feel the sadness, but now you have to feel it. And you have to feel the anger and you have to feel the grief and you have to go through the process. Like a huge part of it is that. This is why it can start to feel worse before it gets better. So this is that part of the hero's journey where we have to confront our shadows, our darkness, our deepest fears, and overcome them. And for a lot of us, feeling our feelings is very scary. And that's completely valid. And it's completely a product of the world that we grew up in, where productivity is a quality that is just highly valued by society as a whole. And, we push down our emotions because they make us less productive, or whatever the story is, whatever the reason is. What I want you to keep in mind, if this is what you're currently struggling with, is like the process of really feeling and releasing those emotions, is when these emotions arise, think of it as peeling back the layers of fog. Think of it as you're actually walking through the fog and you're getting closer and closer to the real you. Behind that fog is the real you. And the real you is joy and bliss and presence. I promise you, we all have this core self. In IFS, it's called self energy. In my coaching methodology, it's called level 7 energy or egolessness. We all have this part of ourselves that behind the fog of the fears and the emotions that we are walking through on this journey is that real you, that uppercase S self. But you just kind of have to walk through the fog that is blurring your vision in order to do that. And so as we're peeling back these layers, it's like clearing the fog that has blocked the true self. It's labor intensive and it can't be rushed, right? You don't want to run through the fog. You have to go through the fog very slowly and just be sure of every step that you're taking along the way. And I don't know, I feel like it's just a good time to remind you, like, healing isn't about quick fixes. It's about sitting in the discomfort, peeling back the layers, and working through the fog. And it takes time and there's no shortcut. And the only way to truly heal is to allow yourself to feel it all, even those things that you have been avoiding for years. And I am taking my own advice on that. Okay. And so when we are kind of in this narrative that it's not working, it's not happening fast enough, one thing that can be really useful is just holding on to that anchor that we can feel and live in a way that is so much better than we could have ever imagined. We all want to feel better. We all do this work because we want to feel better in some way. But what many of us don't realize, myself included, is that once you have gone through the uncomfortable parts of healing, you can reach a place of feeling better than you actually ever thought was possible. And it makes sense, because if you've been living in a certain paradigm your entire life, then of course it's going to be hard to see past that paradigm, especially if that paradigm has been painted by fears and lower levels of energy and lower levels of consciousness. It's going to be really hard to see past that. But an anchor to hold on to, and this is where like resilience and trust and tenacity come in. Actually, there's this oracle deck that I love. It's by Zoe Pollock out of Vancouver, BC. It was gifted to me. I don't fuck with oracle decks, but this is the only one that I love. And one of the cards that I drew was Tenacity. And actually, let me grab it to read it for you guys because I feel like it's a very relevant message here. Look at that. I opened it up right to the page. Okay. Tenacity. Just hold on. Like a child running in the wind with a kite, tenacity asks us to firmly hold on so that the wild beauty that we are capable of can take flight. Sometimes a clenched fist can hold on to a precious stone, maintain a great idea, or keep a worthwhile relationship. We need to hold on to one another and give our dreams sincere effort and care. Sometimes this card comes up to remind you to apply yourself a little more. Give it your all. You are capable of great things. If you're brewing up a plan, nurturing a big dream, or holding hope for someone or something, now is your time to just hold on a little longer. And so we can see why this quality of tenacity is coming up right now. It's about holding on. Just hold on a little longer. Have trust, have faith. What is your alternative? Your alternative is to give up. And you know what they say, that people who succeed just didn't give up. That's really all that it takes. You just got to keep going and you just cannot give up on yourself. And maybe this is a time to enlist support and have a community around you. Do whatever it is that you need to do to hold on to your dream and your hope for a better life, because you deserve that. We all deserve that. Yeah, we all deserve to make the most out of the precious gift of life. And a lot of what is on the other side of the healing journey is heart-centered living and living from the heart. I shared my perspectives on this in episode, I don't remember what episode, but it was my 5-MeO integration update where I really talk about what it means for me to live life from the heart. Once those layers of stuck energy are cleared, once we move through that part where it is worse before it gets better, people can reconnect with their authentic self, right? It's that part of them that is pure love. It's pure love. It's made of love and destined to return to love. So you can live from love and experience life from the heart. And that's truly what it means to heal and to transform in the highest regard, in my personal opinion. That is my soapbox. Thank you for listening. One thing I want to talk about, if you are feeling like things are getting worse before they get better, is the importance of support systems. Healing is not something that is meant to be done alone. The process of transformation is something that is not meant to be done alone. Having systems of support, whether it's a therapist, a coach, a community, an integration community, it just really greatly supports anyone in navigating some of these tougher phases. And it's not just about that direct support. It's also about just having someone mirror back to you the progress that you've already made. I don't know how many times I've been so in the thick of integration and in the thick of working on transforming a certain aspect. And I just get so hard on myself because I am someone who is very hard on myself. Okay, I'm working on it. And in those moments, having a call with a coach, or these days for me, it's my supervisor, but having calls with someone who can just be that very clear mirror for you and just reflect back to you how much progress you've already made and how far along the journey you already are. It's so valuable. And I know that anyone who has experienced that type of support can attest to how powerful it can be. If you have the means and you really want to do this work very seriously, I definitely recommend enlisting support in some way that feels right for you. And of course, I have to promote my coaching here. For anyone who feels that call and would like to work with me specifically, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and fill out an application form and we can set up a discovery call and see if I am what you need right now. I actually don't tend to work with people who are in the thick of the healing journey. I actually tend to work with people more at like the tail end and who are ready to enter the process of transformation and some serious inner transformation and shifts that align with the work that has been done with psychedelics. So if that's you, get in touch with me. I would love to be your facilitator of transformation and growth. So I think that's where I'm going to end today. Let's just recap here, because healing through psychedelics is very messy and very uncomfortable. This is a truth that motivates me to continue to create podcasts and content for you guys. It often gets worse before it gets better, but that discomfort, I hope that you can see now and accept now, is a necessary part of the process. The only way out is through. And even though this journey can be challenging, it is part of the greater transformation that really allows us to be our authentic selves, live lives of flow, and really just make the most out of our precious, beautiful, blessed lives, living from a place of love and clarity. Yeah, that's the mountain I think that we are all climbing together in our own ways. So through the storm, there may be some hard weather. So if you're in the middle of the storm right now, then don't worry too much about it. Just stay focused, stay in your process, have tenacity, hold on just a little bit longer. Remember that emotions are energy in motion and that you can really clear a lot of internal space by just simply engaging in the process and feeling your emotions and enlisting support and having someone there with you to walk with you. I hope that this was useful. Let me know if there are any topics that you would like me to cover in the future. And you guys, we're almost at 200 reviews on Spotify. We're at 194. So if you have not submitted a 5-star rating on Spotify, it would mean so much to me. I would absolutely love for us to get to 200 reviews. It is something that definitely gives that ego of mine a little high five and encourages me to keep going. So that would mean so much to me. And also we are amping things up on YouTube. I'm so excited about the platform. And so I'm doing the podcasts on there, but actually I'm also doing like a shorter condensed version of each podcast episode on there. I'm going to start doing some vlogs. So if you haven't followed Modern Psychedelics on YouTube, give us a follow because we're about to have a lot of fun on there. All right. Sending you a big love. You got this. You've absolutely got this. A life just beyond your wildest dreams is waiting for you. And that doesn't have to do with what you have or where you are. It has to do with how you feel inside. Okay, big hugs and catch you in the next episode. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to and supporting the show. To stay in touch, sign up for my mailing list, which can be found in the show notes or on modernpsychedelics.net. If this episode sparked something within, please let me know by leaving a review of the Modern Psychedelics podcast on Apple and Spotify. This really helps to share these messages with those who need them, which is the whole reason why I do what I do. And if you haven't already, come join the ongoing conversation over on Instagram with other beautiful souls. We have an incredible and conscious community over at the handle Modern Psychedelics. And don't forget that the work begins after you come back down to earth. And I'm standing shoulder to shoulder, doing it with you.